I brought some books to my office today that somebody donated to me, and I had to rearrange my shelves, and I came across a book that I've been thinking about for the last little while that might be helpful for you if you're looking for something to read, particularly in relation to raising disciples. I already recommended the book Raising Disciples, which I linked to a couple of weeks ago. But this one came to mind too, and I read it quite a while ago, but I remember reading it and thinking it was filled with quite a few nuggets of wisdom and some helpful suggestions and encouragements and insights based on their studies. And it's this book called Sticky Faith. It is a book written by Kara Powell and Chap Clark, both of whom are well-respected names in youth ministry. Sticky Faith, Everyday Ideas to Build Lasting Faith in Your Kids. I thought I flipped through it today just to remind myself. I had some dog-eared and lined pages, and I thought I would read you some excerpts that might help you get a feel for what this book is about. Somewhere between 30 and 60% of youth group graduates who abandon their faith and the church return to both in their late 20s. Yet those young adults have already faced significant forks in the road regarding friendship, marriage, vocation, worldview, and lifestyle, all while their faith has been pushed to the back seat. They will have to live with the consequences of those decisions for the rest of their lives. Plus, while we can celebrate those who eventually place their faith back in the driver's seat, we still grieve over the 40 to 70% who don't. Christian Smith summarized simply on a panel with Chap and Kara. He said this: "When it comes to kids' faith, parents get what they are." I starred that one. That's a challenging one for us as parents. When it comes to kids' faith, parents get what they are. As parents, then, instead of concentrating on and sometimes fretting about whether and how our kids are living righteous lives, we have the opportunity to help them discover, access, and strengthen their trust and faith in Jesus Christ. In so doing, the righteousness they eventually display will be the product of the Holy Spirit. That's a good thing to remember for us, that the Holy Spirit is the one who ultimately does the work. Because we are looking for consistency and growth, if and when we see our kids shelving their faith, we can feel like we are losing them. But we have to remember that identity and faith formation is a messy process of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. A good faith conversation doesn't equal convincing your kid that what you believe is best. That's one I've done with my kids. I've had conversations where I've said to them, you may come to different conclusions about some of these things as you mature and grow in your faith, and that's okay, but we need to be able to talk about them. One of the most important pieces of Sticky Faith communication advice we can share is this: never explain something to your kid if you can ask a question instead. I'm an explainer. I want to give the answer right away, but that's not necessarily the best thing to do. Students who serve and build relationships with younger children also tend to have stickier faith. Part of that is likely because of the type of students who volunteer to serve younger kids. But nonetheless, being involved in children's ministry seems to be faith building. Hey, now that's an encouragement for us at Malmo. That's something we've done. We've had some of our teenagers teaching Sunday school, and I think that's been beneficial and maybe should give us pause when we say, well, we don't want them missing out of their own Sunday school class, but teaching younger children will actually be significant faith building exercise for them as well. If I could wave my sticky faith wand, there's one thing I would change. I wish the adults and kids had actually led worship and preached together. After all, our research doesn't suggest that kids need to replace adults in leading worship. Our vision is that kids and adults experience worship together. That's another encouraging one, an affirmation of what Malmo does already in having our children lead in worship together with adults. Well, that's it for now. This book is Sticky Faith. I highly recommend it. It's filled with helpful ideas and insights and research-based information. The Fuller Youth Institute does a lot of research. Another book that's related to that is a book called Growing With: Every Parent's Guide to Helping Teenagers and Young Adults Thrive in Their Faith, Family, and Future. I actually just started reading this one yesterday. You might want to consider looking it up. I can't recommend it because I haven't read it, but I'm sure it'll be great, and I might give you a bit of an update later. You know what? I'll read you just a couple of samples from this book as well. I've only just started reading it, as I say. But just to give you a sense of where things are at for this book. We define growing with parenting as a mutual journey of intentional growth for both ourselves and our children that trusts God to transform us all. So that's how they define growing with. Here's another one. Often in our formal and informal discussions with youth pastors and parents, we ask them to name the biggest struggle of teenagers. Their number one response? Busyness. Even more appalling is the gap between teenagers' anxiety and parents' recognition of their kids' stress. Approximately 20% of teenagers confess that they worry a great deal about current and future life events, but only 8% of the parents of these same teenagers are aware that their child is experiencing such stress. Parents have evolved to the point where we believe driving is support, being active is love, and providing any and every opportunity is selfless nurture. We are a culture that has forgotten to be together. We have lost the ability to spend unstructured downtime. Now, of course, in this season of COVID-19, we may be relearning some of these things, and hopefully when we come out of this, we won't forget some of this. But these are the facts of what's happening and what they're seeing in the lives of teenagers and parents. If you're interested in reading any of these books and talking about them, maybe in a one-off after having read it, or maybe in a small group format, who knows? Send me a message. Let me know what you think, if you'd be interested in doing that. But Sticky Faith, and especially I know this one for sure, and Growing With, both of these are available for Kindle or Kobo or in hardcover. Hopefully that's helpful if you need something to read or need some sort of resourcing or insight into raising teenagers in the faith, and these could be very helpful for you.